This is a 1986 Toyota Corolla, or in other words, the AE86, and in its heyday, it was cool. It offered 112 horsepower straight to the rear wheels, making this small hatchback commuter quite the popular choice. So much so, in fact, that it had its own show, called Initial D. Sadly, since that time, the Corolla name has been associated more with cars like this. Mundane, slow, front-wheel drive, mostly automatic eco cars. Nothing really wrong with them, but they were quite boring. Now, however, it seems the story is about to change with this, the all-new, beefy, brutal GR Corolla. So this begs the question, is the Corolla cool again?
In a word, yes, and there are quite a lot of reasons why. So we'll start with the most obvious reason, and that is the looks. Looks quite a lot cooler than a standard Corolla hatchback. That's in part due to the wider fender flares that this car has, making it 12.3 inches wider than that standard Corolla hatch, which in turn makes it only 0.1 inches less wide than a standard Porsche 911 Carrera. You're also going to get these beautiful 18-inch forged aluminum wheels. These are going to come for the core and the premium editions. If you go for the circuit edition, you're going to get some really nice BPSs. The front and rear bumpers are both different for the GR Corolla compared again to the standard Corolla hatchback. It gives it a much more aggressive appeal. And if you look on the front, you're going to get this massive front grille, and that's fully functional. It provides that vital cooling air to what is just beneath. Now, this is probably a good segue for me to mention that this car is really quite a functional monster. It's not really a Corolla anymore.
The standard Corolla is about daily usability, fuel economy, and reliability. As a result, it has a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that makes a modest 169 horsepower. The torque is irrelevant and it is only offered as a front-wheel drive. The GR has a different engine, suspension, brakes, wheels, tires, transmission, steering, undercarriage, tunes, software, interior, and aerodynamic philosophy. Pretty much the only thing that it shares with the original car is the platform and the name.
Let me start by talking you through the powertrain, because under the hood, what this car offers you is a 1.6-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, which makes 25.2 psi of boost at its peak, which is crazy. Even crazier is that means that it makes 300 brake horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. That makes 100 horsepower per cylinder, more horsepower per cylinder than you get in a W16 Bugatti Chiron. How's that possible? Well, it's because the engineers over at Toyota have used some pretty clever tactics. Things like high-strength engine components, multi-jet piston cooling, large diameter exhaust valves, and part-machined intake ports. If you pay attention to the exhaust, you'll notice that there are actually 3 exhaust pipes, all of which are functional, and that helps to reduce back pressure and maximize power delivery. This car actually has quite a clever all-wheel drive system as well, and that's done because it was developed in collaboration with the Gazoo Racing WRC team. So what's interesting about it? Well, at the twist of a dial on the interior, obviously, because it wouldn't really make sense to put it on the outside of the car, you can adjust the power distribution to either axle. So for everyday driving, you can set it to 60-40, bias to the front. For a more spirited, slidey style of driving, you can set it to 30-70. Bias to the rear. And for that ideal track setup, you can just do an even 50-50 power distribution. What this means is that at its peak, the GR Corolla will do 0 to 60 in just 5.0 seconds, but I've read that Car and Driver have tested one to as low as 4.9 seconds.
The suspension setup is designed to maximize power delivery to all 4 wheels, so you're going to have standard independent McPherson struts in the front and double wishbone multi-link in the rear. The brakes are 4 piston calipers with ventilated and slotted rotors in the front, and 2 piston calipers with ventilated rotors in the back. On the Premium and Circuit editions, those brake calipers are going to be red with the GR badge. The underbody features aero-stabilizing fins to guide the airflow for optimal performance, and besides the front grille on either side are air curtain ducts that allow flow to pass through to outlets behind each of the front wheels. These were designed for the 2024 model year, which this car is, and aluminum sheets were added under the front and rear wheels for added stability.
Let's talk about the interior on this car, and it was designed with insight from professional racing drivers. So you have this 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, And the tachometer on there is going to change its aesthetic based on what driving mode that you select. But it's going to give you other nerdy information as well. You're going to have your boost gauge, the power distribution for your all-wheel drive system, as well as a G meter, your gear selection indicator. All of that is going to be on this screen right in front of you, and it's designed in such a way to be very easy to read and consume that information as you're driving along. It also has a pretty cool little gimmicky intro animation when you turn the car on. It's the little things. But here's a big thing. It's a manual transmission, a 6-speed manual, intelligent 6-speed manual, I should say, so it has auto rev matching. All GR Corollas are going to come exclusively as a manual. That auto rev matching function, by the way, can be toggled on and off at the push of a button. But don't think that this GR Corolla is just a regular Corolla with a little bit beefier of an exterior and some added goodies. Toyota has taken extra care and attention to really engineer this car. Give you a perfect example. This transmission is part of Toyota's new architecture. So it adds 349 welds, 108 inches of structural adhesive, a new central brace, 3 underfloor braces. All of this is in addition to what was already on the base Corolla hatchback. And who doesn't want additional welds? How cool is that? But the real question is, how is this car to drive? There's really only one way to find out. Here we are behind the wheel of the GR Corolla, and first impressions are quite good. You have to have the proper expectations when you're driving a car like this. The suspension is rather stiff, which means all of the bumps and things in the road, you're going to feel them trickle down through every single one of your vertebrae. But the byproduct of that is that in the corners, the car feels very good and very planted. It's turbocharged, and it's a very small engine, so as you would expect, again, there's a bit of turbo lag, and you expect that surge of torque to come, and when you're in eco mode, you get a little bit of it. When you're in normal, you get a little bit more, but you're really going to feel it in sport mode. That's when the car really starts to feel dialed in, really starts to get into what it's supposed to be. So I have it set up right now in track mode, which basically track mode is going to give perfect 50-50 power distribution to the front and rear axles. Throttle response is instantly better. You do still get a tiny bit of turbo lag, but it's largely gone when you compare it to eco or normal mode. It is a fast car, make no mistake, especially in sport mode. You really feel that torque, and it's fantastic. It really does not disappoint. And this all-wheel drive system gives you plenty of confidence in the corners. You get some pretty good sounds in this car too. A bit of whine from the transmission gives you that rally car vibe. The exhaust is not too loud in the cabin, but you do get a bit of it. No gurgling, unfortunately, which I would have loved to get out of a car like this. And of course, every time you let off of the throttle, you get that great little sound from the turbochargers, which just reminds me of every single 90s sports car that came out of Japan. The brakes feel phenomenal in this car, and the gear changes, once you get used to it, are great as well. This transmission feels amazing. It's not that difficult to get used to either. I feel like I've driven this car many, many times, but I've really only been driving it for a few minutes, and it just sticks so well to the roads. Almost feels like an automatic transmission because I don't really have to take a second thought when I'm changing gear. It slots in absolutely perfectly, and I don't even have the auto rev matching turned on. I should mention that this car is the premium trim. For 2023, when this car was originally released, you could get the Core, the Circuit, or the Morizo edition, I think is what it was called, but those were limited to just 200 units. For 2024, Toyota's engineers made some fine-tuning to this car, a few tweaks to make it just that much more better, and then they added this premium trim. That's going to give you the torsion limited slip differentials in the front and the rear, which you could option out for the Core, but they come standard for the premium. You're also going to get these suede seats with the suede inserts, which are heated. The steering wheel is heated. You get the JBL upgraded sound system, as well as some parking sensors. Overall, this is one great little car to tear up a mountain road.
So is it cool? Yes, and if you aren't convinced just yet, the GR Corolla will be produced in a dedicated facility in Motomachi, Japan, the birthplace of the A80 Supra and the Lexus LFA. The cost for all of this newfound coolness, $36,500 for the core and up to $45,140 for the Circuit Edition.
It's quite refreshing to see Toyota back in the performance automotive space. So if this GR Corolla and indeed the 86 and the GR Supra, if they're previews of what is to come, I'm quite excited for Toyota's future. But that's all for this video, so much gratuity to Porsche Riverside for loaning me this premium GR Corolla that they currently have available for sale so that I could do a video for you guys. So all of the regular links will be in the description below, as well as the posting for this exact car, which is currently for sale. Although I don't imagine it'll be available for very long. These things are selling like crazy. But leave me a comment with your thoughts down below. Is the Corolla cool again? Do you agree with my conclusions or not? Let us know why so we can engage in the comment sections. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.